Is it a bird, a plane, maybe a Renaissance UFO? Nope, it's the Ambassadors by Hans Holbein the Younger. Painted in 1533 and probably the most detailed painting ever made, this masterpiece is so packed with secrets and details, it feels like an escape room in oil. A master puzzle of hidden symbols, optical illusions, and enough drama to rival a Mexican soap opera. Holbein wasn't just painting a picture, he was daring us to question how we see the world and even ourselves. So join us today at Galleria... But wait, what's that smudge? A mistake? Oh no. That's Holbein flexing his artistic muscles. That weird blob. It's actually an optical illusion called an anamorphic projection. Step to the right and suddenly, it all makes sense. We're not even 30 seconds in, and you've already forgotten this was painted in the 1500s. The Ambassadors isn't just a portrait, it's a puzzle, a philosophical debate, and a mind-bending optical illusion all rolled into one. So join us today at Galleria as we uncover the secrets of this 16th century masterpiece. And trust me, once you see them, you'll never look at art the same way again. Let's meet the stars of this Renaissance blockbuster. Jean de Dinteville, a French diplomat who probably invented the phrase, "dress to impress." And Georges de Selve, a bishop with enough on his mind to write a Renaissance self-help book. And those details, wow, Holbein wasn't playing. Check out this dagger, see the number 29? That's not random, you guessed it right. It's Dinteville's age when he commissioned this painting. But the dagger isn't just a personal marker. It's also a symbol of action and power. The perfect counterpoint to the contemplative book held by de Selve, representing faith and reason. Together they encapsulate the Renaissance ideal of balancing worldly duties with intellectual and spiritual pursuits. Dinteville wasn't having the time of his life in England. In fact, he called himself the most melancholy ambassador in the world. His solution? Importing 30 tons of wine to get through his stay. If that's not relatable, I don't know what is. But it wasn't all drinking games. Dinteville had a serious mission, to counter the growing power of the Emperor Charles V and navigate a political chessboard that could put Game of Thrones to shame. Look at his lynx-lined coat and gold tassels. Holbein didn't just paint them, he perfected them. He even glued real gold leaf onto the painting before brushing it off for that perfect shimmer. You can practically count every strand of fur. Even his shoes are lined with fur. Talk about committing to luxury. And the flooring? It's not just pretty, it's iconic. This checkered Cosmati pavement is painted with such precision, in perfect linear perspective. It feels like you could step right onto it. And does it look familiar? Fans of the English royal family might recognize it from Prince William and Kate Middleton's wedding at Westminster Abbey. Yep, same floor. Just imagine having to paint all this detail in the 1500s. Holbein wasn't just good, he was a visionary. Beside Dinteville stands Georges de Selve, a bishop and intellectual who was only 25 at the time. Talk about a prodigy. Unlike Dinteville's flashy fur-lined outfit, de Selve's simpler attire reflects his focus on faith and reason over material wealth. Together they represent the Renaissance ideal of action paired with intellect, power, balanced by wisdom. And take a look at that green curtain behind them. It's not just there for style, it's Holbein's way of saying, there's more to this story. Peeking out from the shadows is a crucifix. Subtle, right? It's like a Renaissance Easter egg, reminding us that no matter how powerful or glamorous life may seem, faith and mortality are always lurking in the background. But here's the twist. It's not all about power moves and deep symbolism. Dinteville and de Selve weren't just posing for a portrait. They were friends, and genuinely had each other's backs. Picture this. 30 tons of wine, 2 young men far from home, and one of the most chaotic periods in European history. It's like a Renaissance bromance. Dinteville, the action hero with his dagger, and de Selve, the philosopher with his book. Together they balanced ambition and reflection, proving that you need both brains and bravery to survive the turbulent times. Even in the middle of the chaos, their friendship, or bromance, is the real masterpiece here. Now that's timeless. And we'll come back to that by the end of the video. But between our two Renaissance stars lies a table. Not just any table, but a treasure chest of clues, puzzles, and symbolism. Do you think Holbein just threw a bunch of trinkets together and called it a day? Of course not. Think again, these trinkets are a statement. He literally went for the most expensive props at the time to show off what these guys were all about. Take a look at the celestial globe, the quadrant, and the sundial. These aren't just shiny props, they were cutting-edge tools for mapping the skies and measuring time. The top shelf is for heavens matters. They represent humanity's growing fascination with astronomy and navigation during this era of exploration. Something's off. Look closer. Not that I expect you to know how to use a sundial, but these instruments don't match up. Different times, different alignments. Basically, a cosmic mess. Holbein, did you really make such a rookie mistake? Someone who spent weeks painting every single thread of this carpet would simply paint random instrument measurements? I don't think so. Holbein the Young was way too meticulous for that. It's another clue in this escape room of a painting. A fractured universe. Holbein's way of hinting at the chaos of his time, a celestial preview of the Protestant Reformation. Even the heavens, it seems, couldn't agree on anything. And then there's this carpet. Holbein, you absolute mad genius. Every single thread is painted so perfectly it feels like you could reach out and touch it, but please don't. Back then, carpets like this were worth more than gold, literally. Think of it as the Renaissance equivalent of a Louis Vuitton bag, but for your table. Straight from Ottoman Turkey, these carpets were luxury trophies. They weren't for walking on, they were for showing off. Holbein painted them so obsessively that now we call this style a Holbein carpet, but of course there's more to it than just Holbein's weird obsession with rugs. This carpet tells a story of diplomacy. Francis I, the French king, was trying to forge ties with Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottoman ruler, to counter the power of Charles V, who controlled much of Europe. This isn't just a decoration, it's a political power move woven into every thread. Now let's head down to the bottom shelf, where things get grounded, literally. You guessed it right, we were in heavens. This is now Earth's domain. The terrestrial globe mirrors the celestial one above it, but this time, we're looking at Earth. Squint hard enough, actually, let me help you. You'll spot Holbein's phonetic spellings of places like Baris and Britannia. If you've made it this far into the video, I'm sure you've already figured out which parts of Europe he's talking about. Oh, and look, Brazil even makes an appearance. A cheeky nod to France's colonial ambitions at the time. And what's that beside it? A hymn book, featuring Martin Luther's Veni Sanctus Spiritus, a hymn calling for unity in the church. A dream that, spoiler alert, never came true. And that lute with the broken string? Symbolism alert. It's a literal sign of discord, reflecting the fractures of the Protestant Reformation tearing Europe apart. And then there's this. Arithmetic? Starting with the word divider, which means, let division be made. Coincidence? Not in this painting. Do I have to remind you once again that we are into the most detailed painting puzzle ever made? Of course it's not a coincidence. It's a nice little Renaissance Easter egg. This is Peter Abbion's arithmetic book, a manual for merchants, and a metaphor for the religious and political divisions of the time. But wait, the tea doesn't stop here. It's also a nod to George de Selve himself. His family came from a merchant background, reflecting the rising power of the Renaissance merchant class. And guess what? This book was printed using the latest tech of the era, the printing press. Practical, ambitious, and absolutely symbolic. What looked like a random assortment of shiny, expensive stuff is actually a coded message. This table is a showcase of ambition, intellect, and the fragility of it all. The heavens and earth don't quite line up. Even the most harmonious tools have cracks. Holbein wasn't just painting objects, he was painting ideas, struggles, and the chaos at his time. And while we've uncovered a lot, there's more to this painting than meets the eye. But we'll get to that soon. We've seen the anamorphic skull earlier in this video, but let's get into why Holbein included it. In the Renaissance, the skull wasn't just a creepy decoration, it was the ultimate memento mori, a reminder that no matter how rich, powerful, or fabulous you were, death was always just around the corner. Holbein is basically saying, enjoy it while it lasts, folks, because none of this wealth, glory, status goes with you. Holbein was a pure genius. Remember that this was painted in the 1500s, long before Photoshop or 3D modeling. The effect is so precise, so mind-blowing. It makes you forget that you are looking at something from nearly 500 years ago. But here's where things get even juicier. Not everyone agrees on how this skull was originally meant to be seen. Modern reconstructions using 3D tools have sparked a fiery debate. Was the skull really meant to be viewed from the side, as we see it now? Some art historians believe that the extreme distortion we see today might not be entirely accurate. They suggest the skull could have originally been front-facing, a direct and confrontational reminder of mortality. And what could have caused this change? historical damage, restoration errors, or maybe we've misunderstood Holbein's original intent. And there's more. Take a look at this Holbein's woodcut of a couple standing beside a coat of arms. Right there, prominently featured, is a front-facing skull. Coincidence? With Holbein, absolutely not. Full-on confrontation or sideways, the best part is that once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know that the skull, or death, is always there, and it's impossible to look away. Remember the bromance I mentioned earlier? Well, this little guy peeking out from behind the green curtain is here to remind us of something much bigger. It's a subtle nod to salvation, contrasting the skull's grim reminder of death. But the curtain itself, that's Holbein's way of saying, go ahead, pull it back and discover what lies beneath. Then there's the woodcut we've seen seconds earlier, a couple standing beside a coat of arms with a front-facing skull stealing the spotlight. A couple. Is this Holbein doubling down on the duo's bond? A perfect Renaissance bromance captured in paint? Or is our master painter hinting at something deeper? 30 tons of wine, two young men far from home, immortalized together in this masterpiece. The nature of their connection is still a mystery. And honestly, maybe that bromance joke isn't a joke at all. In Renaissance art, shared objects often symbolize shared values or shared struggles. Take the broken lute and mismatched instruments. Do they hint at tensions in their relationship? Or perhaps they reflect the larger fractures of their time, religious discord, political divides, and personal challenges. Holbein gives us just enough to spark curiosity, but leaves us with more questions than answers. It's like he's winking at us across the centuries, saying, figure it out for yourself, do a YouTube video, and talk about it. The Ambassadors by Hans Holbein the Younger isn't just a painting. It's a masterpiece of storytelling, philosophy, and illusion, the most detailed puzzle in art history. Our escape room adventure ends here, but let's be real. We barely scratched the surface. There are so many hidden details we didn't get to, and it's likely that some of them will stay lost forever, fragments of meaning fading into the past. But here's the real question. What do you see in the Ambassadors? Is it a celebration of wealth and knowledge? A critique of vanity and human frailty? Or maybe something entirely personal? Art doesn't just show us the past. It holds up a mirror to who we are today. So let us know what this masterpiece means to you in the comments. At Galleria, we go beyond admiration to uncover the stories behind iconic art. If you've enjoyed this exploration, subscribe, like, and click the bell to join us on more journeys through the world of art. What artist or masterpiece should we uncover next? Share your thoughts in the comments. I can't wait to explore your suggestions.